Welcome to Object-Oriented Programming Module 1. In this module, we will be talking about the basic and intermediate programming when it comes to Python. Now, let's start by talking about Python. What is Python? Well, Python is an interpreted object-oriented high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. Its high-level built-in data structures combined with dynamic typing and dynamic binding make it very attractive for rapid application development, a general term for software development, as well as for use as scripting or glue language to connect existing components together. Now, what are the advantages when we use Python? First, its syntax are very easy to learn, which you can see as we go through the duration of this course. Second, readability. Its statements and functions are very readable. And the last one is it reduces the cost of program maintenance. Now, as we go along, we will be using Python and Notepad++ when we compile our programs in this course. And so we need to install Python and Notepad++ in our devices. Well, to begin with, we have to download the software, Python software, and the Notepad++. Just simply type python.org on your browser, go to download, and then download Python. Save the installer, and then we will do the same also to Notepad++. We just go to notepad++.org, and then we download the latest version, Notepad++, and then download. All right. To make sure you know where you save the installer, and then click save. Now again, the URL to download Python is python.org. That's python.org. And for Notepad++, we can see on our browser right now, notepad-plus-plus.org. So you might want to take note the URL address. Now, after you download both installer, you have to install first the Python. In our case, it's 3.8.5. I did save it on my drive D. There you go. We have the Python application. After that, we install Notepad++. Simply double click the installer, XO, select the language, English, click next. Be sure to read the license agreement, next, and next. Check the create shortcut on desktop so that we won't be having difficulty when we are running Notepad, and then finish. Now, when we run Notepad++ for the first time, we will have the message from Notepad++, the bugs that they fixed. We will be integrating Python in our Notepad++. So you have to make sure you know where you save your Python program. So you go to Notepad, click Plugins, and then we go to Plugins Admin. We go to NPP or Notepad++ exec. Here, Node NPP exec. Okay, just simply check the plugin and then install. Just click yes. Notepad will shut down. You just simply have to open it again. Notepad++. There you go. It's open. Plugins. Now you will see we have the npp exec on our submenu. We uncheck the complete command. We check the console output. We check also the save all files on execute. We also check the follow current directory. Now, after that, we will add a shortcut. And so we put npp.exec, execute. We put the command on how we run Python. Again, you go to the directory where you save your Python application. Just like so, in our case, it's in D, drive D, copy it, and then just simply paste it. We add slash Python dot uh, and then a double quote. We put the $sign and then the file name. Close it with the double quote. We save it. We'll just name it run Python. Yeah. All right. We save the command. Just click OK. And then we can see on our console it says ready. Okay. And so we will put a shortcut on how we run the Python on our macro menu. So we click plugins, npp exec, and then we go on the advanced option. In the associated script, we will see the run Python there. We just simply add it and then click OK. Again, the notepad++ will start, and then after that we can see our run Python here. Okay, simply close notepad++. We open it again, and then this time on our macro we will be having our run Python. Okay, now we try the command is running. We just simply type print hello world, quote, close parentheses, and then we save the file with the extension name py. We just simply rename this as hello.py, right? We save the file. Now we will notice on our notepad++ it will display the Python file. We click macro and then run Python. There you go. And so it's working. Ready to go. Now let's start by talking about variables, expressions, values, and statements. Well, just like any other programming languages, in Python also we have variables. These are containers used to store values. But unlike any other programming languages, Python has no command for declaring a value. In other programming language, when we use a variable, we declare if the variable is an integer, string, a boolean, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to Python, we don't do that. We will see that later when we do our hands-on. A variable is created the moment you first assign a value to it. And a value is one of the basic things a program works with, like a letter or a number. Now, one of the most powerful features of programming language is the ability to manipulate variables. A variable is a name that refers to a value. Now, when it comes to variables, we have naming conventions. Variables, variables, variable names must be meaningful. Okay. In Python, they can contain both letters and numbers, but they cannot start with a number. We have to remember that. It is also illegal to use uppercase letters, but it is a good idea to begin variables with a lowercase letter. The underscore can also be used when it comes to naming variables in Python. You also have the reserved words. You cannot use reserved words as variable names or identifiers, which we can see on the screen. like false, true, and as, assert, break, and so on and so forth. Now let's try uh, using a statement in Python. A statement is a unit of code that the Python interpreter can execute. When we type a statement in an interactive mode, the interpreter executes it and displays the result if there is one. A script usually contains a sequence of statements. If there is more than one statement, the result appears one at a time as the statement executes. Okay, now let's try it with let's tie the statement and the variable using variable in Python. We begin by declaring putting x, hello world, single quote. Okay, and so we print x. We assign hello world in the variable x, and then we print x. When we print x, instead of the letter x is printed, the value of x is displayed, which is hello world. Now we put another statement here. This time we won't be using a variable. We will print directly the word welcome to Python is displayed. So the first one, we use the variable to display the word hello world. And then the second one, we directly printed the statement welcome to Python without using variable. All right? Okay. Now let's go to data types. In programming, data type is an important concept. Whatever programming language you use, data type is very important because this is how the program interprets the value of a certain variable. Now, Python has the following data types built in by default: text type, numeric type, sequence, mapping, set, boolean, and binary. Before we try different data types in Python, we first we will first talk about input and print because we will be using these functions as we use data types. First one is input. This is a built-in functions that gets input from the keyboard. When we use input and run the program is put into a halt. It stops and wait for us to type on our keyboard any character that we want to, and then if we will press enter or return, the program will resume and input returns what we have typed on our keyboard as a string. Okay, you have to remember that as a string. Later on, we will see we will be having a sample program in which we will use input, and then let's see how it interprets the value that we type. Okay, the another command that we will be using is command print. Well, we have used it a while ago. When we use print, it displays the message that we have uh, declared on our program on what the compiler interprets. The message can be a string or any other object, and then the object will be converted again into a string before written to the screen. Okay, now again you have to remember both input and print display a string data type. Let's go to our Python program and then try using input and print. Okay, so we type input, enter, course, we save the file, and then run. And so there's the enter course. The program is waiting for us to type, and so we will type object oriented programming, and then we press enter. The program ends. Okay. Now we put we will put a variable and then we print the variable. We run the program, enter course. Again, we type object oriented programming and enter. It prints the value of the variable a, which is the one we have typed. Okay, now let's try another one. This one, let's see how uh, what data type the command returns to the user. Okay, we put num1 is equals to input, enter first number. We will add two numbers using input. Num2 is equals to input, enter second number. All right, and then we will put sum is equals to num1 plus num2, and then we print sum. Save. So the answer must be the sum of the two numbers, 2 and 3. It's supposed to be 5, right? It's supposed to be 5. But if we press enter, it's 23. Why? Well, this is what we discussed a while ago. The input command returns a string data type. So instead of number 2 and number 3, it's 2 and 3 together. It's 23, not 5. And so to convert, we will put int before the word input. And then again, we will run the program. And then we enter two numbers. The first one is 2, second is 3. This time, it's 5. And so that is how the input command works. All right. Now, let's go to the order of operations. For us to remember the order of operation on how it is evaluated in Python, we just follow the basic rule, PEMDAS, PEMDAS. That stands for parentheses, exponentiation, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Now, if the operators are the same, they are evaluated from left to right. Just like on our example, the expression 5 minus 3 minus 1 is 1. And it's not 3 because it is evaluated from left to right. Now, let's see more on the mathematical operations and also the print function in Python. Okay, so again, we put num1 is equals to 2, num2 is equals to 3, and then we put sum num1 plus num2. Now we will combine numbers and string in the print function. We print sum. Okay, and so the answer is 5. Now we will be combining string to the variable sum, which is integer. And so to add, you just simply type print the sum of quote, and then we use comma, all right? Comma. In some programming languages, we use the plus sign, the addition symbol. But in Python, we use comma, okay? And put space here, comma, num2, comma, and then quote, single quote because it's a text is, and then sum, we close, and then we will see the output, run. Yeah. The sum of 2 and 3 is 5. That is how we combine string and integer in Python. We simply use comma and not the plus sign. All right? Okay. So moving along now, we will move to the string operations. The plus operator works with strings, but it is not addition in mathematical sense. Instead, it performs concatenation. As we have seen a while ago, it concatenates 2 and 3. And so the result, instead of 5, it's 23 because its concatenation is not a mathematical operation because it is a string. And string literals in Python are surrounded by either single quotation marks, just like what we are using, or double double quotation mark, single quote or double quote. They are the same in Python. We can also assign multiple string to a variable by using three quotes or three single quotes. That we will see later when we are probably if you want to write a paragraph or string with multiple lines in a single variable, we can do that. Strings are arrays also. In Python, arrays of bytes representing Unicode character. However, Python does not have a character data type. That means a single character is simply a string with a length of 1. And then when it comes to array, in Python, square brackets can be used to access elements of the string. Square brackets. Now let's try to explore the string data type when it comes to Python. Okay, and so we will use a variable a and we write hello world with a dub, double quote, and then b this time single quote. That is what we are using. We print a and we print b, both b as in boy, sorry, and then both of these variable will be displayed, right? Okay, they are displayed. One, hello world with a double quote, hello world with a single quote. Okay, now about the multiple lines. Let's try it. Three single quote, one, two, three, and then we write our um, text. We write our text. This is a string with multiple lines. Okay, let's try it. Print C. Okay, run, and there you have it. This is a string with multiple lines. And so we have multiple lines using only one print command, using only one variable, which is C. And that is how string works in Python. Now how about array? Print A, which is hello world, start with 0, which is the first letter, letter H, and then A, second letter is E, and when we will run it, it will display supposed to be H and E. There you go, H and E. And so the hello world in variable A is also an array. That is how the string works in Python. Okay, so next we will talk about Python if-else conditional statement. Python support the usual logical condition from mathematics, just like equals, which is used using two equal sign, not one, uh, not equals, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and These conditions can be used in several ways, most commonly in if statement and loops. Also, we will be also talking about loops after we discussed if and uh, elif later. If statement is written by using the if keyword. Now, take note, this is very important. We will also try this later on. Python relies on indentation to define scope in the code. Other programming languages, they use curly brackets for this purpose, curly brackets. But in Python, we use indentation. This is very important. We will see this later, okay? But first, we will try the if statement. So we have a variable again, a is equals to 2, b is equals to 1, and then if a is greater than b, we print a is greater than b. Okay? Don't forget the indentation. Okay. So we'll try the program. Macro run Python. The statement is true. And so it prints 2 is greater than 1. Now let's see if we don't have any indentation. Macro run Python. See? Although the statement is correct, we don't have any indentation, an error will be displayed. So don't forget the indentation, guys. It's very, very important. Now, together with if is the elif. It's not else if. Like other programming languages, we use else if. In Python, we use elif. This keyword is used in a way, this saying, if the previous conditions were not true, then try these conditions. Okay? Now, let's try it. Let's go back to our program a while ago. Okay? So, let's try elif. If the previous condition is false, elif, let's try equal. If a is equals b, colon, let's make them equal. We print here, print a is equal to b. This is equal. Okay. We type u right here. QU. Okay. That's it. So we run the program. The first expression is false, so it moves to the elif, which is true. That is why it prints 2 is equal to 2. That is how elif works in Python. Okay. Now, after the conditional statement, we move to the looping statement. In Python, we have two primitive loop commands, while and loop. Now, we will talk about loop first later on. After that, we will talk about for, which is we will also see the big difference between the for loops of other programming language with Python. But before that, let's discuss the looping statement, while. The while loop can execute a set of statement as long as the condition is true. Now, together with the looping statement, we have the break statement. When we use the break statement, even though the condition is true, the break statement will stop the loop, even though the uh, condition of the looping statement is true. So, in a way, when we put break in a looping statement, it exits on the block of statement which is the loop, and it will stop. Let's try while statement in Python. Okay, we use the variable j is equals to 1 while j is less than 10, print j, and then the increment j is equals to j plus plus. Save. Now we have to be careful with the condition 1 to 9. Why 1 to 9? Because the condition that we use is greater, is less than 10. We put equals, it will display 1 to 10. So we have to be careful with the conditions that we use. Okay? Now, let's try break. Let's try using break. So in insert here, inside the loop, we test if j is equal to 6. We just simply put break, and then we will see here, as soon as the while loop reaches 6, it goes out of the loop because of the command break. And so that is how while and break uh, is used in Python. Now let's go to for loop. Okay, this is what we are uh, talking about a while ago. The for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. This is less like the for keyword in other programming languages and works more like an iterator method as found in other object-oriented programming languages. With the for loop, this is the difference. We can execute a set of statements once for each item in a list or a set, etc. Now let's try this so that we can visualize the difference. Okay, and so we will try the for loop. We will make a set of items here. In our case, we will use phone. Right here, Samsung, then Huawei, and then the one more, Oppo. All right, and so we have a list. For X in phone, we print X. Okay, run the program, and so all the phones are printed. That is how for functions in Python. Let's try break in the for statement. If X is equals to Samsung, and then we try here break. Okay, you see the program, macro, and then run Python. Apple, Samsung, X, which is Samsung, it breaks out of the loop. Okay, all right. Another one is using for in an array. Okay, so we write here for y is equals y in Apple. Okay, remember a while ago, string can be an array. Print y, and then run Python apple. So this time the for loop is used to print each letter in a string, which again we have discussed, string is an array in Python. Okay, an array is a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. If we have a list of items, we can use, instead of using, just like our example, car 1 Ford, car 2 Volvo, car 3 BMW, we can use array. Simply use the variable cars is equals to, and then we include the different types of cars which is very easier when it comes to manipulating lists when it comes to programming languages. And so, array also have different methods, and these are append, clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, and sort. All of these methods can be used in Python when it comes to array. Now, during the duration of our Module 1, we have discussed variables, expressions, values, and statements. We also discussed data types, different kinds of reserved words which we cannot use when it comes to naming variables, the operations, string and arrays, very important, very different from other programming language when it comes to Python, and also the conditional and iterative statement. This ends Module 1 of Object-Oriented Programming. Thank you very much.